Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Summertime! It's the greatest time to be a kid. One of the really great aspects of summer is sleepaway camp. Kids leave home and go spend weeks with other kids, and they get their first taste of what real independence is like. They get to find out who they are as people. They also get to do a lot of fun activities. I mean, most kids at summer camp spend their time swimming, playing pranks on each other, making popsicle stick houses, or running from hockey masked killers. Or if you're like these deadbeats, they go looking for strange mythical storytellers in the woods. Yeah, that's the premise of the video. Finding the greatest storyteller of all time. No, it's not like the Monster Squad going to fight Dracula or the Goonies going to find pirate treasure. Yeah, that's their mission. To find Taloglee, the world's greatest storyteller. That is so underwhelming in every respect, especially after you see the stories that he tells. And that is what this review is about. Golden Book's Campfire Thrillers, The Search for Taloglee. So let's talk about the history of the video, because that's fun. So this is called Campfire Thrillers, or as I like to call it, The Adventures of Taloglee. For our purposes, let's call it Taloglee. Taloglee was a live-action Golden Books production from 1990. For those of you too young to remember, Golden Books had a series of VHS releases in the 1980s for their books. The VHSs would consist of a series of still frames and would include music and voiceover narration. It was usually celebrity narration done by like Z-grade celebrities like Dick Van Patten or Pat Sajak or Newt Gingrich. It was essentially a book on tape. They were quite successful for most of the 80s. Taloglee was one of their first live-action versions. But it does contain 3 shitty stories with limited animation, just like the earlier Golden Book releases. So the company responsible for releasing Golden Books, Western Publishing, began to lose money in 1994. They were eventually bought by Penguin Random House, and the company went out of business in 2001. So Golden Books continue to exist today as they have since the 1920s, just not by Western Publishing.
The garden.
Hey, what's this?
You're in for more adventures than you might think. Take my advice and hop quick as a wink.
Tomorrow we'll go to the brook on the hill.
So Nicky told Scuffy a story about the brook on the hill.
Big Bird was thinking so hard that he didn't look where he was going, and whack!
Whoa! So that's enough of a history lesson. Let's get on to the video. The video starts with a bad graphic and some weird random guy laughing. And then there's a bunch of random shots of summer camp crap. Then we meet the narrator, or should I say we hear the narrator. This guy, he gets on your nerves. He'll pop in at like the weirdest times, and sometimes he's completely blotted out by the soundtrack. Usually he gives some sort of weird analogy, like, you know, at the time in high school when you have to jump off the high diving board. He's kind of like a cheap ripoff of A Christmas Story, and I think that's what they were going for. But when I first saw this in like 1998, I probably automatically thought of Fred Savage's character from Wonder Years, his adult version, talking backwards. That's what it reminded me of. So it's a real cheap mix of the two, and it really doesn't work.
Whenever I smell pine trees or hear the night sounds of the forest, I recall a strange night years ago. The key felt like it was almost alive. The fire was gone too, as if it had never been there.
We are then introduced to our characters. Our main protagonist is Peter. Peter's the narrator. He's a little guy, and he's a fucking coward. I seriously think he wets himself about 5 or 6 times during this video. Then we have Danny, the resident Taloglee expert. He's the one who gets this whole crazy shindig going. We meet him as he's staring out a window, looking like he's waiting to be abducted by aliens or something. I mean, he looks kind of sketchy. And then we have Randy. He's the third little shit that rounds out the trio of shit, the shit three amigos, if you will. I hate this kid. He's a douche. He's really fucking annoying. Yeah, he really sucks during this, and I was hoping that like a piano or a whale would fall on him and kill him, but unfortunately that doesn't happen, and we have to live through his meandering, useless fucking talking. So that little rat bastard Randy tries to get a pillow fight going. The narrator tries to ignore him, and I wish that I could ignore Randy because I hate him. Much like the sirens of old, Randy's voice yelling, "Hey Danny," will make ears bleed.
Hey Danny! 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 Hey Danny!
Not since the time of the Odyssey and Odysseus has man ever heard a more shrill and painful voice. Randy manages to lob the softest thrown pillow in the history of forever at Danny's head. But the best part of this scene are the two kids playing checkers and their reactions to the pillow being thrown at Danny. The two checker kids overdramatically duck as the pillow flies about a mile over their heads. So after their near fatal death with the pillow, the two kids start poking the air like they're poking the fucking Pillsbury Doughboy and laughing really, really bad. What kid doesn't know how to fake laugh? Yet these two knuckleheads find a way to do it. So then we get to the finale of this scene, the kid in the hat. This kid is a terrible, terrible actor. I swear no one has ever coached him in how to fake laugh. And honestly, he's a kid. He should know how to fake laugh. He does the stereotypical, I'm going to put my hand on my stomach and pretend to laugh thing. It looks awful. I mean, look at that. You call that acting? I guess somebody's got to go back to mime school. He then gets up, walks over to the window, and delivers the worst line of the show.
There's nothing out there.
Jesus. Did they not take any time to practice with these kids? Still, this kid's a way better actor than John Wayne was as Genghis Khan in The Conqueror. Then we get a menacing musical sting, and the camp counselor enters from a low-angle shot. And yells at the little shits to get back in their bunks and gives everyone the people's eyebrow.
Daniel, get in your bunk. And the rest of you guys, I want it quiet.
So Peter lays back on the bed and starts wondering, how can someone exist that no one has ever seen?
Someone nobody'd seen? What were they talking about?
Danny, the preacher of the First Church of Taloglee, doesn't really have a straight answer. Much like a politician, he just makes it up as he goes. Danny says that Taloglee might not be from here. He might not be from anywhere, making everyone question his sanity.
It's not a what, it's who? Taloglee. Everybody's heard of him. He's not from around here. Maybe he's not from anywhere. Taloglee is supposed to be the greatest storyteller. When he tells stories, it's like you're really there. You're drawn into them.
So really, that's the best you can come up with? You are trying to convince people that Taloglee is real. It honestly comes off like all that stupid midichlorian talk from episode 1. Danny has no evidence for the existence of this clown, yet everyone should believe him. He cites that Taloglee is so famous that the girls from the other fucking camp have heard of him. That'll get you into a peer-reviewed journal, am I right, people?
It's not a what, it's who? Taloglee. Everybody's heard of him. Even the girls at the other camp.
Then enter everyone's favorite piece of shit, Randy. He comes into the shot with a lame "they're back" reference. For those of you not familiar, that's a reference to the 1986 movie Poltergeist 2.
He's back. They're back.
That was already outdated before the movie came out. Without question, Randy has the shrillest, most annoying voice in this video. It makes ears bleed. We then get to hear Randy tell everyone about how Danny got them all in trouble last year, walking around the woods trying to find Taloglee. And then he's like, no, it's different this year. It's like a magnet pulling me, which is like the most generic analogy anyone could possibly give.
This is different. It's like a magnet. Something's pulling me there.
Then suddenly there's a rap or tap at the window, and we get a very brief shot of somebody in the window. I have no idea who the fuck it is. It might be the janitor or somebody who is cosplaying as Che Guevara. It's so fast, it's like a blob. It just looks like a thing with hair and a hat.
Danny, Randy, did you feel it? 5 minutes, meet at the totem pole.
So the thing in the window yells, 5 minutes, guys. Danny jumps out of his bed and asks Pete if he wants to go. Pete literally wets himself at the thought of going outside at night. And Danny goes, "Come on, you want to be a baby all your life? You got to be a man at some point." Literally, when Danny's got more balls than you are a pussy.
It's now or never. Do you want to come?
I can't. I can't go out there. I'm scared. It'll give me nightmares.
Oh, come on, be a man. Do you want to be afraid all your life? Come on.
So, we finally get to meet the girls from the ambiguous other camp, and boy, are we excited. There's some lame dialogue about following the totem pole's face. Danny gives another lame analogy about a force pulling him like a magnet or something.
Randy, what are you doing here? I thought you had enough after last year.
Well, someone's got to make sure Pete here stays out of trouble.
Did you guys notice how strange it is around here tonight? The feeling is so much stronger than it was last year.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like a force pulling us.
My sister says she heard you're supposed to follow the face or the eyes of the fourth mask. It's got to be the totem pole. And the fourth mask is looking at Old Settlers Woods.
The kids get done talking about Talaglia and head off into the woods. The director heads over to the crew and tells them, time to pad the video.
Is it?
Where now?
I think it's this way. No, this way. I'm over here. Randy!
The kids finally find the clearing. Squanto goes over and decides that the campfire is really old.
This fire looks too old to have been made last night.
Randy and Pete show up and they all hide, and Cindy forces one of their heads down really hard, like a fucking bitch, and then she's just like, "Oh, it's just Randy and Pete."
You guys, it's just Randy and Pete.
It cuts to Cindy and Betsy, and they're looking, for clues of Talaglia, and Betsy's clearly scared, and Cindy puts her hand on her and starts rubbing her, and she goes, "It'll be okay," and then immediately turns 180 degrees and goes, "He's gotta be here!"
You guys, I don't like this place. Can't we go back? I'm really scared. It's okay, Betsy. There's gotta be a clue in here somewhere.
The bitch clearly has bipolar! What the fuck? Could you imagine your doctor doing something like this? On the one hand, he tells you, "Well, I'm sorry, sir, you've got 5 months to live." But they have pie in the cafeteria. You'd punch him right in his fucking face! So, after a bunch of bullshitting, Danny finally finds the inscription on how to call the bastard Talaglia. So, in order to get Talaglia to show up, you have to send back a hoot from an owl and a howl from a wolf. That's deep, man.
Answer the owl, send back the wolf's howl, you'll find the key in Talaglia.
So we hear a really terrible hooting noise, and that little shit Randy calls it back, and everybody gives him shit, because they should. He sucks.
Hoot! Hoot! Hey! Don't do that! Don't, Randy. You might start something. Randy, don't!
Then, oh god, the wolf noise. Did you hear that? It sounds like it's from a Scooby-Doo episode. It sounds terrible. In case you were wondering, this is what a wolf sounds like. I feel like I'm the only one that has a problem with calling Talaglia like this. It just seems really, really suspicious. In the long, sordid history of summoning mythical creatures, Talaglias might be the lamest. This seems very arbitrary. I mean, who laid the groundwork for summoning Talaglia like this? All you have to do is call an owl and a wolf back. Since calling Talaglia is so arbitrary, what if somebody else happened to answer the call? What if a drunk vagrant was in the woods sleeping? Or a serial killer was out in the woods dumping a body? What if he answered the call? Wouldn't that be surprising? Why is it that Talaglia only appears in that clearing at this specific camp? That seems a little bizarre. I guess the stars must be aligned because they are the kids that are chosen to find the Master Talaglia, and find him they do. Were all of these kids born under the Tallow Glee star? Is that why they're able to find Tallow Glee? Do they all share a Tallow Glee sighting gene? Are they fucking psychic? Why these kids? Why have none of the other kids at this camp ever found Tallow Glee? Why is Danny the one that gets the weird inkling or tingling feeling up his spine about Tallow Glee being present in the forest that night? So does that make Danny his prophet? Because he's the one who tells all the kids for sure that Tallow Glee exists. So what does that make Pete, the chosen one? Then finally, at 8 minutes, 40 seconds, the living legend himself, Tallow Glee, makes his appearance. To someone who had never seen the box art, what would Tallow Glee have looked like? I kind of imagined him as being like a monster or something. I mean, why wouldn't he be something ethereal? I mean, he's supposed to live in the woods, right? What we get is just a dude?
A peculiar light to cause such fright. Is this yours, my son?
Thanks.
The night is cold, your lamp is tame. For warmth, has anyone brought a flame?
Is that him?
You do not know me? Dear Sue, I'm Tallow Glee.
He also speaks in tongues, which is always good, and doesn't creep any of the kids out.
Again I ask, 'tis my desire. Did anyone think to bring a fire? Ah, never mind. Let's just see what I can find. Here it is, within my sack. Be so kind as to all step back.
So the kids sit down for cultural powwow time with Uncle Glee. They begin asking him questions like, where are you from? Are you a child molester?
Where did you come from?
A place older than time and younger than today.
He gives them the most run-around answers possible, much like a politician or a lawyer. He then pulls out the magic box, or as I like to call it, a bong, because it's fucking smoking.
And I found a magic box along the way.
What's in the box?
Things known and things unknown. Things from foreign places and things homegrown.
Tallow Glee pulls out the key and offers it to the kids, but none of them want to open the door.
'Tis sad to see your tongues are tied. I guess we'll let the key decide.
So they decide to play the largest game of Simon I have ever seen. And like clockwork, the coward Pete wins. And as an audience, we win because we are treated to one more lame narration analogy.
All at once, my hand felt hot. I felt the way you do when you have to jump off the high dive for the first time and everybody's watching.
15 minutes in and we're to our first fucking story. God, I hate Tallow Glee. The animation looks like shit. It is terrible. We have two main characters who are brothers and they sleep in the same bed together. I'm just going to leave it right there. I really don't have a lot to say about this story. It's actually pretty terrible. The two brothers find a dog, and the dog ends up time traveling and saving his master. That's it. So Peter wakes from his dream or whatever it is, and he's clearly fucking stoned, and the others are like, dude, was it good? And he's like, yeah. So Pete became a man after winning Key Simon and listening to one of the worst stories ever put to paper. Then that little shit Randy opens his mouth and he's like, yeah, I want to hear a scary story. And I think somebody punched him.
Yeah, make this one scary.
So we begin the second story and it's entitled The Viper. Tallow Glee tells a story that takes place in the modern era, but when he arrives, he has no idea of what a fucking flashlight is.
A peculiar light to cause such fright. Is this yours, my son?
Thanks.
The night is cold, your lamp is tame.
So this story is a bit of a mess. We meet a seemingly nice old lady who is all by herself in her apartment on her birthday. She keeps making comments that her daughter will either call or come to see her because it's her birthday, obviously.
Tweedle, just wait. I'm sure she'll call today. She's my daughter after all. She won't forget my birthday.
The senior citizen talking to her cat assumes that her daughter will call her on her birthday. We, the audience, don't know if there's an estranged relationship between the two or the old lady's just out of her mind. Or it could be that the daughter is a selfish bitch and just forgot about her mother. So someone called the Viper calls and freaks the old bag out.
I am the Viper.
He then goes downstairs to get a set of keys for the apartment. Why would a key ring hold all of the tenants' keys? And why would that be in the basement? In no time in history would this happen. Robbery is the least of your problems. If someone wanted you dead, well, I will just go get the big ring of keys and bash your skull in. Also, the landlord keeps the keys in a medieval dungeon, plus the apartment building has rats. What a fucking shithole. So the douchebag known as the Viper calls her again to let her know that he's in the building. Like 30 seconds later, he calls her again to let her know that he's coming up. I don't know why he calls 3 times. He calls once to let her know that he's there. He calls again to let her know that he's in the building. And then a 3rd time that he's coming upstairs. I'm not really sure what the Viper is trying to achieve with this. Is he trying to kill her? Because it's working. She looks like she's about ready to have a heart attack. Then our old bag, Stormcurl, freaks out and calls the police. After the old lady calls the police, the door handle begins to jiggle. It's the Viper, and he's got the keys from the basement. Then the little douche reveals himself to be a stereotype of immigrants. He's a window washer. The old woman apparently dies.
I am the Viper, and I am here to wash and wipe your windows.
And that's how the story ends, with a dead old woman, a wet cat, and a racist stereotype. I would also like to point out that the cat's name is Tweedle. So the cat is named after a bird sound. Makes a lot of sense for a cat.
She's saying to her cat, Tweedle?
Just as a brief side note, this is a retelling of the urban legend, The Viper. The only differences are, instead of a man, it's a woman, and she lives in an apartment instead of inheriting a house from her uncle. We finish the story with a dead old woman, and Taloglee takes a chance to do some freestyling.
What seems to be may not always be what it seems.
So one would think that Danny the Prophet would get a story, but nope. Out of nowhere, Betsy gets one. What the fuck? Which then leads into the video's load of ass segment. So this story is more xenophobia, just like the last one. This one is about the ills of gypsies. So a door-to-door salesman shows up at the house of 2 bratty kids. They want to buy some made-in-China crap. Mom's got no money. So without even asking, the peddler goes over and tries to steal an apple. They freak out like little bitches and say no, and grab the apple back. Then the gypsy basically threatens them and leaves.
The peddler's daughter was hungry, and as she left, she reached to pick an apple from the sister's tree. Jessica saw her and shouted,
Put it back. It's not yours.
The girl grew angry.
Take it, but I won't forget. Your greed is something you'll regret.
Quick point. If the bitch was so hungry, why did she not barter her lame swag for some fucking apples? Why did she just assume she could take an apple? They didn't buy anything, so why does she get something? They get nothing in return for their apples? I mean, I'm not saying that they're right and freaking out about a fucking apple, but seriously. Also, who the fuck does she think she is? They didn't try to steal from her. They wanted to buy something, but they had no money. So the peddler is apparently Gandalf. She has this magical ability to say some stupid words and blow into a wooden flute and make her toys do some stupid shit.
Daughter spoke in a strange language.
Arily, arily, bo-rum-dee, do-um, la-dum, la-derily, see. My friends, come out and play with me. I'm lonely and need some company.
The sisters sweet find the dumb bitch and want the stupid fucking flute. So Devil Peddler decides that this is her time for revenge for the apple snub. She gets them to steal her mother's treasured locket, her tears, whatever, and then takes 20 years from the sisters. 20 years! Damn, she's a fucking succubus.
Bring me a thing your mother always wears. Bring me your mother's tears. look into my mirror and give me 20 happy years.
They return home and find that no one recognizes them and the stupid fucking flute doesn't work. Remember, all of this started because of a fucking apple.
When she did, a sadness came. There was no music, no dance, no joy. Who are you? I'm Toby. I live here. No, Toby is our baby brother. We live here. Can I help you? Don't you know us? We're your daughters. Oh my. No. My daughters left me over 20 years ago.
So the moral of the story, kids, is let solicitors just have whatever they want. They want your fucking TV, let them have it. Otherwise, they're gonna fuck your life up. I mean, seriously, this bitch went so far, all because of a fucking apple. I don't think she went far enough. I think she should have killed their fucking brother and burned the fucking house down. That would have been sufficient. So we finished the last story. At about 27 minutes and 29 seconds, there's a really fast edit, and that janitor Che Guevara kid has a really terrible delivered line, and it's, how many stories are in there? But it's cut off, and it's partially like on Taloglee's face. It's really weird.
Just how many stories are in that box, Taloglee?
Then Cindy, the bipolar girl, starts crying, essentially, when Taloglee starts to leave.
Taloglee, do you really have to go?
They've known this guy for like 20 minutes, and Stockholm Syndrome's already taken place in her. They ask, when will he be back? And he gives them yet more vague responses.
How many stars are in the heavens? When the new moon makes the night sky grin. When the magic song rides in the wind. When the wolf and owl call out to you. Until that time, I bid adieu.
Talo the douche Glee gets up to leave and disappears into thin air, and nobody questions this. We get one final voiceover about courage or something. What are we, the fucking Cowardly Lion?
We never told the others about Taloglee, but I never forgot the way he made me find courage inside myself.
So, with the great Taloglee gone, the kids get up and wonder if this was all a dream. They get up to leave, and we are out of here. So with that all behind us, it only leaves questions. What became of Taloglee? In all likelihood, he probably took a job at Whole Foods or as a Walmart greeter. What about those poor kids? Those kids probably spent years living in denial and having regression hypnosis therapy done to try to find out the truth of that night. Randy is more than likely still a piece of shit or an investment banker. Danny more than likely started a doomsday cult. Having found courage, Pete went on to work for Denny's, I'm sure. Their lives were changed, but weren't ours too? I guess that's the real meaning of life. No, it's fucking not. Greatest storyteller ever told, give me a fucking break.